Woo! All right, what's up, mad humans? Rezzy here with you, and I'm back on the grid after a week up in the Rocky Mountains. I know this is just Wednesday here, but I wanted to chime in because there was so much news that I missed over the week last week when we were in a remote location. I didn't have a lot of service, which was great. Just fresh air, wilderness, family time, and enough marshmallows and s'mores to really mess with my wife's glucose monitor. I went off grid to recharge, and, of course, the AI news never stops and doesn't care about my vacation schedule or any of our vacation schedules for that matter. So while I was reconnecting with nature and the digital frontier kept pushing and pushing, it actually leaked into my vacation. I did hear a little bit about some of the stories that we're going to go over really quickly here today, just as a short episode to catch everyone up that perhaps missed me on Friday last week. I'm going to get better at giving you a heads up if I'm going to be out of town in the future, but I just wasn't sure if we were going to actually be back by then or not in time to do the show. So I didn't want to spoil it or get ahead of myself. So at any rate, here we are on episode, 005.5, we'll call it, I guess. No Friday high five today. This isn't a full episode, like I said. We're going to leave some of the stories that perhaps are even bigger than these ones from last week. This thing just keeps on rolling like crazy. But the biggest story, OpenAI's release of their agent functionality, got a whole episode for Friday based on that. So let's go over some of the quick headlines that we missed last week. Apparently, while I was off grid, tech execs decided to hand deliver an HR nightmare to the internet. I'm not sure if anybody else caught that viral video of the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert, but the memes alone have been so tasty. TikTok hit warp speed, and by Monday, the board hit the reject or eject button on Astronomer CEO Andy Byron. Nothing says culture fit like getting your entire company trending under the hashtag Coldplay gate. Oh, let's get into the headlines from last week. It's MADHUMAN. All right, first up, the Silicon Valley drama that lit up the tech screens and feeds all last week was all about Windsurf and Google. Windsurf is this red-hot AI coding platform startup that was weeks away from a $3 billion acquisition by OpenAI. But then OpenAI bowed out and Google swooped in, and they basically said, we're not going to buy Windsurf outright like OpenAI had promised to in their deal, but rather we will license it and poach the tech and poach the brain trust. So the C-level guys, which is kind of crazy, and it had everybody up in arms last week while I was out enjoying the wilderness. Google dropped a cool $2.4 billion in what's being called the talent raid of the century, bringing CEO Varun Mohan and co-founder Douglas Chen and their top engineers from Windsurf over to the Googleplex. Investors were definitely not happy about this one, as Vinod Khosla himself dragged the founders on X, accusing them of breaking the social contract between startups and their teams, essentially saying that they cashed out and left the rank and file hanging. But plot twist within a plot twist, Windsurf just 36 hours later did end up being acquired by Cognition Labs. So the rest of the team didn't get left behind out in the cold after all. It is messy. It's very Silicon Valley. And it's clear that this is a signal that in the AI race, it's not just about the code and what's being built. It's about locking in the people who can write it. More on that. I'll drop a link in the show notes so that you guys have access to the Globe and Mail's deep dive on the whole saga. But let's get into story number 2. AIB says 86% of advertisers are using generative AI for video ads. So AIB released this eye-popping stat last week. And as of this year, 86% of advertisers have been using generative AI or plan to use generative AI for creating video ads. That's nearly 9 out of 10 advertisers saying, yeah, let's just make the machine make the content from now on. And they're not just testing it. They're saying by 2026, almost 40% of all video ads that you see online should be AI generated or could be. I'm saying they probably will be. Some small and mid-sized brands are leading the charge because generative AI levels the playing field, and you don't need a Hollywood budget when you have a prompt and some good taste and artistry. I'm a firm believer in keeping the human element alive in our creative and what we do. But I do see that, leveling the playing field makes it a lot more accessible, lowers the bar for people that have that creative and that imaginative kind of currency. That's going to become much more valuable in the future. Story number 3, Publicis CEO takes a shot at Meta's AI ad tools. Finally, one of the biggest names in the ad agency world just raised their revenue forecast thanks to AI integrations. Their CEO, Arthur Saudon, couldn't resist throwing some shade, saying clients still prefer agency creative over Meta's AI-powered ad tools. And basically, that's a thanks, Zuck, but we'll take it from here. Publicis they're a proving ground for agencies, right? That they can still thrive and embrace the AI on their own terms with their creative, not just plug into the Meta machine and let it do all the work for them. So one deep dive to get into here before we call it for this brief Wednesday update. Let's zoom in on that Windsurf story, because the drama wasn't just about it being another acquisition. It was a blueprint for possibly what the future of tech warfare is going to look like. In the past, when a company wanted the talent, they'd also have to buy the whole shop. Google showed us that, this new model, perhaps a dangerous one, is a way of licensing the tech and skipping the messy M&A process and just hiring the top talent from the firm directly. It's clean. It's no doubt ruthless, but it's sending shockwaves across all of these startups, and founders and teams alike are now asking themselves, do we want to be acquired by big tech in this way? And if big tech can just outbid your cap table, then what does it actually mean to build a startup with a soul? Don't forget, this is all about the human layer here. When founders cash out through talent deals, what happens is, the people that built the thing that got them there often are going to get left behind if we allow this type of acqui-hire to proceed in the valley. Cognition Labs came in and scooped up, thankfully, the remainder of Windsurf's staff, but this is definitely a wake-up call. AI talent is the most valuable asset right now, not the product, not the code, but the people, the humans. We're watching the emergence of an AI talent economy. And like I've been referencing for a while now, that economy is going to be built on a currency. That currency is going to be creative and imaginative. So when we enter that imagination economy and currency, it's going to be about who is building these websites, these tools, these groundbreaking, earth-shattering technologies, not the code itself. And that's really the new battleground. So something to think about and chew on from last week for the rest of this week. I'll see you in a couple of days. I've got a great interview lined up for this Friday to talk about OpenAI's basically coming in and steamrolling everybody that's been creating agents and just kind of putting it native to the platform. I've been messing with it for a couple of days now. It is fantastic. I would give it perhaps a B- at this point. I know it does take a little bit of a learning curve to get used to how agents work, but I think they did a pretty good job in keeping the interface for the agent native to the ChatGPT interface and the way that you use it as simple as they possibly could. And I really like these tools because they help us kind of look at what agentic AI actually is. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, when this would happen. And that's why I think it's a huge story. And I think we're just scratching the surface of what's going to be possible in the future. And yeah, I want to get right into it, but we're going to wait till Friday and we're going to talk to my guest all about it. So that's it for the check-in episode. Just going to be quick, potent, back on track. We'll be back on this Friday with a full show and your Friday high five and the latest deep dive that you definitely won't want to miss. If you want to dig deeper into the Windsurf story, hit the show notes and find that link. As always, hit me up on X at Rezzy with your thoughts on where AI talent is headed and the war for that talent is headed. Until then, stay sharp, stay weird, stay human, and I'll see you on the digital frontier. As always, thank you this time for your time. Until next time, peace.